Have you ever heard the expression, stay in your lane? Listen, I think it's pretty common, but a lot of the times we think about probably a lot of different things when it comes to that very familiar expression, stay in your lane. But what does it really mean? And I kind of want to break that down today in regards to the lane of your life. And do me a favor, stick with me until the end because I'm going to share what I believe is often and commonly the number one roadblock that keeps people from trusting the lane God has put them in. You guys, let's jump into it. I am your host, Sam Velasquez, with the Kingdom Family Movement Podcast. I'm super excited you're here today. Hey, as always, if you're tuning in, do me a favor, follow, like, subscribe, all this stuff. Follow the channel, send it to a friend. It's how we grow. It's how more people find us because you are commenting, leaving a review. All of those things have an impact, and I appreciate it. But I really want to talk about this today. I want to talk about the idea of changing lanes because I don't know about you, but I think a lot of the times we find ourselves thinking we need to change lanes. Now, it doesn't mean we don't change careers or jobs or things change around us all the time. But here's the thing, we all know this. If you change lanes too many times on the road in regards to like traffic, you can actually get a ticket, right? At least where I live, I think that you have to go 500 feet before you change lanes again, right? And we see it all the time. We see someone bobbing and weaving out of traffic. And if you're like me, it drives you crazy a little bit. But you know what? It's just because they think they're gonna get somewhere faster, but it's a lot harder to just stay with the flow of traffic, stay in your lane, and trust the process, and I get it. Sometimes we're in a hurry, and so we think we have to change lanes. But again, I'm not talking about traffic laws today. I'm not talking about the lanes that we drive in. No, I'm talking about the life lanes, the lane of life, right? The lanes of calling, the lanes of identity, the lanes God places us in on purpose. And here's the part we often forget. God knew your lane from the very beginning, right? We're reminded of this in Jeremiah 1:5. It tells us he knew us before we were formed in the womb, right? Listen, he knew the lane he was going to place you in from the very beginning before you took your first breath. We have to remember that. You see, Jeremiah 29 tells us that he has plans, and those plans are good. They're to prosper us. They're not to harm us. They're not to quote unquote make us feel impatient or in a hurry or the need to change lanes 27 times because I think that if I get out of this lane that seems to be backing up and I get in the middle lane, I'm going to get down the road further just to find out that's backed up. And now the lane to the left of me is starting to slinky. You know what I'm talking about? We've all been there. Let's be honest. We've all changed lanes like that, thinking we're going to get somewhere faster. But we got to remember the truth. God put us in a lane and he has a plan to prosper us. It's not to harm us. It's to give us a hope and a future. So if his plans are good, why do we keep switching lanes? And listen, like I said, stick into the end because I'm going to give you a little bit of a caveat to this that I think is very important, but I genuinely believe it can help bring you transformation and understanding the lane you're in. So why do we keep trying new paths, new routes, new identities? Why do we assume the lane we're in isn't enough? Have you ever felt that way? I know I have many a times. So here's the idea that grounded me more probably than anything else in the context of changing lanes. What if your lane isn't what you do? It's who you are. Think about that. Ask yourself that question. What if the lane I'm in isn't what I do more than it is who I am? You see, we live in a culture that's obsessed with performance, with reward achievement. We celebrate what someone does all the time. And then we're shocked when who they are can't sustain it. You know what I'm talking about? It's kind of like, man, I love this person. I love hanging with them. And then all of a sudden you get behind closed doors and you're thinking, and I don't mean judgment. I just mean observation tells you, wait, you're not that way at all. This is actually who you are. My gosh, you were operating outside of your lane over here. You see, and I don't say that to judge anyone. I just say it because it's true. See, people may remember what you did, but they never forget who you were. They just don't. This is why your lane isn't found in your job, your role, the season you're in, or the achievements, the past, present, or future ones, even. Your lane is your God given identity. And this idea isn't mine. See, it's God's idea. See, He created you specifically, number one, in His image, yes, but He also gave you a very unique identity to you. There is no one like you. So it's never what you do when it comes to your lane, it's who you are. The one He gave you before you ever even took a breath is the identity I'm talking about. It's the one He calls you into every day. Again, not what you do, it's who you are or who you're becoming. So let me give you this kind of breakdown of what it is I think that can really help you, right? The roadblock that we commonly are, I don't want to say victims of, but we fall into. And the roadblock that keeps us from trusting God or the lane He's chose or put us in is simply this. It's just not knowing your true identity, or worse, grabbing on to a false one. Have you ever operated in a false identity? I've talked about this in maybe past episodes or different conversations, but it's the idea of, if I play basketball, it's like grabbing a soccer ball and then going on the court and throwing that at the hoop. It just, something's not right. And it's very obvious to everyone else. But somehow we think that that's what we need to do. And the reason why it's hard is because your identity, for example, is you're a soccer player or you're a basketball player. But when you're trying to be a soccer ball player by shooting the soccer ball on the basketball court, it just doesn't match up. And people can see it. So if you don't know who you are in Christ, the chances of us changing lanes is highly likely. And we'll do it constantly. And we'll think that there's a better, faster way to get down the road or to accomplish the next thing. See, we'll do things like chase approval, we'll chase comparison, we'll chase validation, we chase the identity the world applauds. And you know why I know this? Because I've done it. I've done it in some shape or form or capacity. And I don't say that as if I'm proud. I say that just truthfully, honestly, transparently. We chase the identity the world applauds because, man, we certainly love that kind of validation. We'll shift every time insecurity whispers, maybe. You ever felt insecure about the lane you are in or what you were called to do and questioned it, right? You'll hear things like, who you are isn't enough, or that's why so many people feel lost. It's not because God hasn't given them a lane, it's because they're questioning if it's the lane they're to be in. But because we're never settled into the one He's actually assigned us, then we end up kind of living from what we do instead of who God says we are. And that shift alone will change everything about you knowing and being secure in who you are and staying in the lane God chose for you. And if you haven't figured it out by now, the lane isn't the thing we do, it's the identity in which Christ gave us. And when we know that, it doesn't matter where I'm at. It doesn't matter if I'm on the basketball court, the soccer field, the football field, if I'm in my workplace, I'm in the church, I'm on a podcast, I stay true to the identity in which God gave me. And I don't shift lanes for anybody. And I don't say that proudly. I mean, because I want people to have the real me, the best version of who it is God says I am to both be and become. So how do we best stay in our lanes, right? The best way to stay in our lane is actually incredibly simple. Maybe not easy, but it's simple. And it's just trust who God made you to be and trust who He is forming you into. And yeah, that can be hard because staying true to who God calls us to be doesn't mean we're going to get applauded. It doesn't mean people are going to like us or agree with us. It doesn't mean that we're going to have all of the influence we thought we would have. No, because we are staying in our lane for the audience of one, right? I want to be who God called me to be. Because in the midst of all that, your job title may change 5, 6, 7, 100 times. Seasons come and go. Seasons change. God even tells us there's a time and a season for everything. So stuff changes quite frequently. Responsibilities change, but your identity, who God made you to be, who he said you are before he even formed you in the womb, before he took that never changes. Now we grow, but the true sense of who we are never changes because it's divine. It's who God made us. Because who you are in Christ is fixed. It is firm. It does not change. We should not be easily moved. Yes, you grow in it. You mature in it. Absolutely. You are refined through it, but you do not abandon it. Don't think you have to change lanes because you feel like there's a better way. Listen, I get it. The temptation is always there. The temptation to act or sound or do something different than you would normally do is always going to be there. You don't change lanes. You don't switch your identity every time life gets loud because the lane God puts you in is the lane that leads to purpose, to strength and clarity. And yes, I understand sometimes when we're in our lanes, we feel like we're in the dark. We feel lost, hopeless. We feel like God maybe's forgotten us. But the truth is, he hasn't. It's where he shapes us. It's where he forms you and I. It's where he molds us to look more and more like him. And so, again, when we think about lane changes, think about that from both the practical and the spiritual perspective, because I think we can all relate to sitting in traffic and we change lanes. And I know everyone doesn't do this, but I've done it. You change lanes every time the one you're in seems to not be moving fast enough. And then you get into the one that is moving and think, I'm going to get there faster. And then that lane stops and is blocked up and the other lane starts moving. You think, I gotta get over. And before you know it, by the time it's all done, you end up in the same lane you are in and you end up getting to the destination probably in the same time, maybe even slower than you would have had you just trusted staying in your lane. Spiritually speaking, the lane is your identity. Stay true to who it is God has called you to be, because in the end, he's just shaping and molding us to be more like him. So let me ask you, are you being true to who God calls you to be? And I don't mean that out of judgment or condemnation or shame. There shouldn't be that in this question. It's genuine, heartfelt. So if you feel that shame and condemnation, just know that's not God. That's the devil, that's the enemy. But are you being true to who God's called you to be and true to who he already says you are? Because the lane of what you do may change 100 times, but the lane of who you are, your God-given identity, it never or should never change. Stop changing lanes. Stop chasing identities God never assigned to you. Stop assuming you need to be someone else to be effective. Stay in your lane. Trust the lane God gave you. We live in a world of optimal possibilities of lanes you could run in or go in. We are inundated with ideas that seem like good lanes to get into. And it doesn't mean that you can't do the job, the vocation, seasons change, you grow, you mature. It means your identity in the process never changes. So if you're in a lane and you feel like you're not being true to who you are, it's probably because you're operating outside of the true identity God's given you and is growing you into, and he's asking you to become. So trust the lane God gave you and trust who he's shaping you to become. Because remember, when it comes to Kingdom Family Movement podcast, when it comes to the mission, when it comes to restoring God's intent for the marriage, the family, and the home, we want to be operating in our true self because it's attached to the lane he's put us in. It's our identity. You guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Listen, I want you to really grab a hold of this and think about it. Don't let the roadblock of walking in a false identity keep you from the lane he's put you in, and trust the process. I know it's hard sometimes, but you can do it. Ultimately, just put your faith and trust in him. I appreciate you guys hanging with me today. Stay in your lane. I hope you're encouraged. Do me a favor, share this with someone. If you want to get connected, hey, do me a favor, click the link in the show notes below and you can join us on the inside. We actually have a free community, and check it out by clicking the link below. And if you want to get connected beyond that, hey, I would love to get on the phone with you for a free coaching call and see how we can help you navigate staying in the lane God has called you to be in. If you'd like to do that, hey, there's a link below as well to set up a free coaching call. And as always, you guys, Sam Velasquez here with the Kingdom Family Movement Podcast, and we will see you on the other side. Peace.